Hello everybody and welcome to the first episode of At the Foot of Lead Mountain. And what the aim of this series is to really take a look at what rubbish is floating around my lead pile. This is inspired, in all honesty, by Ralph Astley's videos, where he has sort of dug through piles and piles and piles of stuff that he has collected over the years. And I think one of the almost universal truths about wargamers is that we are notorious hoarders. So this is my attempt to sort of catalogue the things I have for my own sanity, I suppose. Maybe show you that you shouldn't feel so bad after all, because we all tend to hoard. You know, I think it comes down to the fact that, and I think Ralph is right here, is that we tend to think, well, what if the miniatures I want today are no longer sold tomorrow? And so you will see that writ large in this particular video. So what you see here, start with the first portion of this box. I won't show you the box because it's just too embarrassing, but anyway, so here we have several things that I've picked up from Warlord Games over the years. These are just some blister packs that I picked up from them, right? And when Warlord Games, these are old, these are from like when Warlord Games just launched, I believe. And there is a, you know, they were a new company. I believe John Stallard had just started them, and they were just sort of making their name. And one of the main achievements, I would say, was the fact that they were probably the first to market with a with plastics, right? With ancient plastics. So John Stallard had started Warlord Games along with, I guess, Rick Priestley and stuff, and one of the reasons that I was keen to try them out was because of this. They had released plastic Romans, which were an absolute godsend, because if, like me, you started wargaming in the days of when it was only metal miniatures available, you were kind of, armies were prohibitively expensive, right? With this, on the other hand, you could spend, I think it was about 20 quid at the time, it may even have been cheaper, but you could get 20 miniatures for sort of 15 quid or whatever it was. I bought this box, and as you can see, it remains unopened till this day. So I bought it fully intending to paint them, and I just never got around to it. Now I do have a Roman army, a fully painted Roman army, which I based and played Warhammer Ancient Battles with. So it's all individually based figures. I love that army, but there's two things have changed over time. One is my tastes in terms of how I base miniatures has changed. I don't really like individually based figures anymore, unless it's specifically for a skirmish game, or I have to design the basing, the individual basing, around the idea that I can clump them together on a sort of sabo base to make them elements, right? So that's one part. The second thing as well is that I just don't play Warhammer Ancient Battles anymore. I'm sure people do, but I think as I've developed more in my tastes, I've become more of a fan of sort of element-based games. The group I play with here in White Rock in Canada, or there in White Rock in Canada, tends to favour playing Armati, a very venerable rule set. I also am very keen to try Art de la Guerre, which is seems to be the replacement for DBM at this point, and Field of Glory, which didn't seem to really last that long, I'll be honest. But anyway, let's start off with some of these packs. So this here is an auxiliary command unit, command blister pack. I picked these up because I have a lot of the Perry Wargames Foundry miniatures in my main army. It's painted, and then also have loads of those left spare as well, which I'll show you in a minute. And you were quite limited in your options as to auxiliary commands with Foundry. They never really provided things like a musician, I believe. They do have a sort of Centurion type figure or a commander. This is the Unleash Hell package. This is the sort of Russell Crowe character with his dog from the movie Gladiator, which I really appreciated. Now, one of the things I will note is that the scale on these Warlord figures is very variable. So I'll try and do this in a way that kind of works. But if you compare this freebie that I got with Hail Caesar back in the day with this Russell Crowe guy, he's a head shorter than she is. He's a lot smaller, a lot slighter. His scale also doesn't really match up with these. He's a lot kind of skinnier than than some of the other miniatures. And this is sort of a problem with Warlord games, is that as they've sort of accumulated ranges from various sculptors, the styles tend to be quite inconsistent. I did complain about that with my poles, actually. The original poles, bolt action poles, were sculpted by Paul Hicks, really great miniatures, and then some of the later additions to the range were done by somebody else. I don't know who they are, but their sculpting style is completely different. So here's another freebie. This is I believe also I think this one I got, I don't know where maybe I got this with an army list or something, an army list book. This is a Centurion, very flash. Look at that, look at the amount of flash on that guy. I don't know if you can see that, but there's like tendrils of lead coming off him. Anyway, this guy came with Hail Caesar, I think. This is probably the dude that came with Hail Caesar. Really cool figure. I'll definitely paint him up. Very nice. And then I also picked up the sort of Marcus Aurelius. This is supposed to be based upon the website. I just did some digging earlier today because I was kind of confused as to who this fella is. And this apparently is Julius Caesar. I guess he looks very sort of inspired by Asterix. That's fine. And then I got the Marcus Aurelius figure here, where he's in his cloak. Again, very gladiator inspired. So what we can do is maybe do a little command base with Marcus Aurelius, and you know, Russell Crowe stood on foot next to him, with a few other dudes hanging around, making the place look busy. Here's the hold the line. This is the mounted Russell Crowe with his dog running down the line. Again, this will make a nice little command figure to add to an army for the sort of northern borders of the Empire, northern frontiers. I picked up a pack of Optio. You couldn't, nobody really made these. Warlord were the first ones to do it, and in terms of scale, these are very much in keeping with the Perry style. So I picked them up thinking to myself, they'll mix in nicely with Perry, and I'm sure that they will. And then I got a Legionary Command pack because I wanted to try them out. Then we come back round to this box here, which I never opened. Again, it was a nice idea. I will probably paint these up. It's just, the thing is, I'm not a huge fan of plastics. I'm gonna be completely honest. And it's that stupid old argument of heft, but it really comes down to that for me. I also really don't like assembling them. So I don't know what it is. I just prefer metal. Maybe it makes me backwards or whatever, but I do see the value of this, and I will paint these up to see how they do. I've looked at the sprues, and they do look really nice. Again, they look very, very Perry-esque in their proportions. They look like they'll match nicely. I do note, though, that the Gladius arms have the sort of armored forearm a la the Dacian Wars, which is a slightly unusual choice to my mind, because it's not something that was overly common, but it is what it is. Now, oh, and then I need to tell you why I bought all this stuff. So you might say, well, David, you already have an army. Why would you buy another Roman army? Well, the answer is that I always wanted to do a sort of civil war head-to-head type thing. So the army that I currently have is an Eastern army led by Vespasian. It was modeled around his attack on Jerusalem, right? His siege of Jerusalem. Well, what I wanted was a counterpoint army, counterfoil army for the Western frontier. So think of like Hadrian's Wall, think of like Dacian Wars, think of the German frontier. So actually these armored forearms are not a bad shout for that, because they'll fit nicely into a Dacian War kind of context. So so these will be used, don't worry. But then the thing is, you know, in addition to all of that, I have this, and this is just, again, the old hoarding qualities. Now, some of you may remember back in the day, Foundry are really expensive now. Their postage is expensive, the miniatures are expensive, but back in the day they used to have this really good deal where it was around Christmas time usually. They'd have a sale on. You could spend 99 quid and you would get 3 of these white boxes, and I'll show you one in a moment, full of miniatures, right? And they would have what were called collections. Now they don't sell the collections anymore, but basically it was one of everything, right? For it'd be like a page that had like 9 packs on it, and you would buy the collection and you get all the packs at a small discount. Well, at Christmas time you could get this even better deal, and you would just get mountains and mountains and mountains of packs, and I took full advantage of that. So as we delve through Lead Mountain, you'll notice more and more that there are these special white boxes that Foundry used to ship, and this is just the internals of some of them. So There's about 8 blister packs there of Perry Romans. More than I need. Like I said, I already have a ton of these painted up and added to my army. I'll have to do some mathematics to figure out how many more I want to keep. And then these are the boxes that they used to come in. Let me just show you this. They used to come in these really nice little flat boxes. And the nice thing about them was that they would pack them sort of full with blister packs, sort of top and tailed with each other. So yeah, so I have all these Foundry packs. Now the reality is that I'm not going to use all of these. I'm not going to use them. That's just a fact. So if there's 8 packs here, looks like I'm probably going to get rid of half of them at least, maybe 5 packs, say. Keep 3. Who knows? If anybody is interested in watching this video and you are based in either Canada or in America, give me a shout. I'm prepared to do a deal to sell these blister packs and send them out from my end. If anyone's interested. If you're not interested, that's fine too. I don't really care. I'll sell them at a show or something to bring them by. Not really a big deal. So anyway, loads and loads of packs of these Foundry miniatures. They're still really great, by the way. I love them. And the nice thing is, as I've mentioned before, they actually fit in really nicely with the Warlord Games miniatures. So if you do find that you're short specific miniatures, or you don't want to keep repeating what Foundry has on offer, or simply that you find that Foundry are too expensive to buy brand new, you can always fall over and you can always roll over, sorry, and just use the really nice Warlord Games ones. And based upon the pictures on their website, at any rate, and what we've seen here so far, for the most part, they seem pretty nice. Again, only time will tell. Once I put some paint on them, I'll know for sure. But I think you know, a mix of Perry and Warlord Games might be a good idea. So that's the sort of the Warlord and War Games Foundry stuff over there. And I kind of lied a little bit, because there's a little bit more War Games Foundry in here. This is a box of sort of bits and pieces. I have the Emperor Claudius here. These bags are from other miniature manufacturers. I shoved these guys in here to make my life easier. But I've got the Emperor Claudius in here. Again, I figured, you know, Claudius was involved in Britain. I'll just do him as a command stand. It'll be quite nice. And then in here as well, you'll see there are some loose. These are all loose miniatures. You'll notice this is a loose Perry miniatures here. Now, look at this. On the left here, we've got Black Tree Designs Roman, and on the right we've got Perry's. And look at the difference in size between those fellas. Absolutely monstrous, aren't they, these Black Tree Design guys? Now you might say, well, why do you have them? Right, well, here is also from War Games Foundry. These are Praetorians, and I don't know why I bought all these packs of Praetorians. Don't ask me, because I can't answer the question. But I do have a bunch of the Steve Saleh, which is these ones, range, which he sculpted for War Games Foundry. I have quite a fair few of them, actually, the Legionaries. Now, I think what happened was I ended up with a pack, because I got them in one of these deals, one of these boxes. I ended up with a pack of Praetorians and figured, oh, well, I'll bump up to unit of 24, something like that. So I bought a few more packs of these just to round them out. And then these are more in keeping with the Black Tree Design scale. They're quite chunky. Their hands are huge, for instance, if you look there. Maybe bring them a bit closer. But you get the sense here that, like, the Saleh ones don't really fit with War Games Foundry. And then, so anyway, I was like, well, I might as well, you know, bulk out those units. And again, it was one of those things at the time. It seemed like a good thought. Now, the reason I bought these Black Tree Design miniatures is because at the time I was thinking, okay, well, I'm going to do a Western army. I'd like them in the sagum, this cloak that the Roman legionaries were issued with. Because I figured you're out on the frontiers, maybe you're up in... And these guys also have breeches as well, if you notice on the knee there. Probably difficult to see, but they have breeches. You can just see there, just above the knee. There's a little bit of cloth. These guys have breeches and a sagum, which is different from the Perry guys, which were much more Mediterranean in their dress. I wanted sort of guys from in a colder climate. Again, they would fit in nicely with the gladiator type miniatures that I had purchased. They would fit in better with the sort of British/German/Dacian frontier. And then what I'll do is I'll have a Western frontier army and an Eastern frontier army, and then the two can fight each other in a civil war. I thought that would be pretty sweet. However, you know, time being what it is, you always kind of get sidetracked by the next shiny thing. But that is my goal, and it remains my goal. So I think what I'll do is I'll keep these cloaked Black Tree Design figures. I do like them, actually. They're very nicely sculpted. It's just that Black Tree Design are a terrible company to do business with. I hate to say it. I bought these on a sale when they were dirt cheap. But my experience with them has been really hit and miss. Like sometimes they're great, but for the most part you tend to place your order and then you just kind of wait, and then one day miniatures you forgot you'd ordered ages ago will just randomly turn up. So what I have here is a bunch of auxilia with the cloak. There you can see them with the Sagum cloak, really cool. And I think it'll just look a bit different, right? And then I've got some legionaries here in the Lorica segmentata, which is really cool. Lorica segmenta, sorry. And then in here also, oh, these are some Persian Sparrowbarrow speed. There's a bunch of gladius or gladii, and then some people might remember these little boxes. You tended to get loose bits and pieces in here from manufacturers back in the day. These are all Black Tree designed bits and pieces. So Pila, spears and shields of various type, and some gladius as well, gladii. They're all in here, so they're good to go. And then I also bought this ox cart. Now I cannot for the life of me remember where I got it from, but I think the way we can work it out is by looking at this ox driver, and he seems to be quite small compared to, yeah, see, he doesn't fit in with Black Tree design. However, does he fit in with a Perry? More likely yes. So I suspect that this cart is probably either from Foundry, or if not from Foundry, it's maybe from Warlord Games. At any rate, we've got this chap. He looks like, based on his helmet design, that's a Montefortino helmet type thing. I'm guessing he's probably an auxiliary. He appears to be wearing trousers as well, which is another sort of typically auxiliary thing to do. But anyway, he leads this little ox wagon. And at the time when I was putting this Frontier Force together, I was planning on doing it for a sort of skirmishy type game, which you probably won't do now. What I thought at the time was, okay, well, it would be nice to have a sort of play scenario where you have a marching Roman column that gets attacked by barbarians, right? I think at this point I'd probably create like a baggage element type thing with the wagon and maybe some marching legionaries or something alongside. That would be quite cool to do as just a little centerpiece for the army. But anyway, so that is my pile of shame in terms of early Imperial Romans. It doesn't stop there though. I mean, look at this. Look how deep this is. It's crazy, right? There are some half-painted stuff that is on the shelves, and I'll show you my painted stuff in a moment. But in addition to that, I have Caesarian Romans, so Marian Romans, or late Republican Romans, let's call them that. I also have late Imperial Romans as well. So I just have hordes and hordes and hordes of Romans, because Romans are a brilliant choice because they're so versatile over time. They tend to stick their noses in everything. So from a wargaming perspective, they're a really fun army to collect, and a good sort of generally useful and deployable army. And yeah, and then there's also, there's a few outliers here as well. I bought a bunch of casualty packs from Black Tree Design actually. There's more in this box that are loose, but these are really cool. They come in auxiliaries and legionaries, and then I bought some bow from them as well, which were really nice. So I'll again, you always need more auxiliaries, right? So I figured I'd get some bowmen there. That was back in the day. But anyway, I'll leave it at that. I just want to thank you for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. When the next time we scale up one more level of the Lead Mountain, and you can gaze upon the horrors within and despair alongside me. Thank you very much for watching, and have a great day.